So without further ado, we want to get straight into our first session, a fireside chat, how AI created one of the fastest growing companies in history. And to talk about that, love to welcome on stage Peng, the head of data science for UberEats. And he will be interviewed by one and only Matt Marshall, founder and CEO of VentureBeat. Please give them a warm round of applause. Thank you.
Chen, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Take the center seat.
It was like honor.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. So, look, I'm personally excited about this conversation.
Super excited too.
Provocative title. Really, I mean, in terms of scale, right? Run rate of 6 billion gross turnover within 3.5 or so years of being founded is really kind of unprecedented. So in terms of fastest growing company ever, there's various ways to actually to measure that. But can we talk about the component of AI specifically and how it's driven this growth?
Sure. So first of all, great honor to be here. Thanks a lot for the invitation. I don't know whether it's the fastest ever per se, but I definitely, in the past several years, the UberEats has been growing and scaling at a very rapid rate. I mean, from the very beginning for Uber and Eats, we embrace data-driven as our core culture. And I would say AI and maybe more generally data science and analytics has absolutely played a very critical role in driving the growth of the business. Mm-hmm. One thing I think I wanna say is for this discussion and for this audience, I think it makes sense to maybe generalize the definition of AI a little bit from just about machine learning and deep learning to actually be more generally about a suite of algorithms and systems that can automatically extract insights and relationships from data and then derive intelligence to power the business. That's how we would like to think in terms of AI, right? So in that regard, I think we can say that the AI techniques has been applied really broadly across many different fronts of the Uber Eats business. I'll give you some examples on the, so we're a three-sided marketplace, right? So on the eater side, the eater-facing side, for example, we have been using personalized recommender systems, ranking algorithms to really tailor the content of the app, right? The restaurants and also the menu items to our consumers. And then, these techniques also include, for example, using NLP, natural language processing, to really understand our menu, and then the cuisine types, right? To better serve the content to the customer. And then, can you guys still hear?
Yeah, let's make sure we've got a mic. Is there a way to maybe run a mic up on stage if we get testing?
Hello? Yeah. Good.
Yeah, you're on. Okay.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. So over the years, we have been using the recommender systems to actually cumulatively create more than 10% increase in our session conversion rate. Which can do.
Just in case. So it's on, so you're turning the other one off. Thanks.
Which can directly translate into the top line growth of the business. On the restaurant side, that's the other side of our three-sided marketplace. We have been using, for example, machine learning and AI techniques to actually predict the incremental value different restaurant chain or different restaurant partner can bring to the ecosystem. So we know how can we then guide our sales efforts to be more targeted, right? We have this interesting idea called a virtual restaurant, which is to leverage the existing kitchen space for restaurant partners that are already on our platform to actually create virtual brands on the Eats platform and only do delivery via the Eats platform, right? And we have also been using machine learning to help this virtual restaurant identify, what type of cuisine, what type of menu items will be very popular, so that can drive a lot of demand for them, but also revenue for the entire platform. And on the courier or the driver side, using machine learning and AI techniques to, for example, optimize the incentives, right? So weekly incentives, how much money should we give out at different time of day, of the week, and also different location to incentivize the right amount of supply to come online and then do delivery so that we can ensure reliability and efficiency of our marketplace. Zooming out, if you look at the holistic marketplace, a lot of AI and machine learning and data science techniques are being also used to do, for instance, real-time pricing, right? So when we have imbalanced demand and supply in different geo areas in the city, how can we smartly adjust the price in response to demand and supply to ensure balance in the marketplace? We use machine learning AI to do intelligent dispatch and matching, right? So imagine we have the set of orders being placed in the last 10 minutes. We have this many couriers driving around. Which driver should we assign to pick up which order? And how do we intelligently combine multiple orders together? We call that batching, right, to create more efficiency. And we do that not only in response to the current ongoing demand, but also to predict the demand and supply in the next time interval. Right, so and apparently using machine learning AI to constantly predict the demand, supply, time on the temporal and spatial dimensions, so we can fit such information into these downstream intelligent systems to do the actual optimization. Right, so I think that's maybe some examples of how we have been using AI techniques and data science methodologies to drive business value at Eats.
Great, yeah, thanks, Chen. So just curious in the audience, how many people have used UberEats? Right, because UberEats kind of came from behind. There's a lot of competition out there. Yeah, so well, more than that. Looks like more like 50%. So most people are aware of what UberEats is doing. So in terms of the specific numbers, so you had mentioned that on the order of 10% in AI had been contributing at least 10% increase in conversion in terms of that volume that we've talked about. You also have used AI to shave 3 minutes off that delivery time to, I think, an industry-leading 27 minutes. So again, kind of superseding some of the other players out there. You mentioned, efficiency in dispatch, some of the other things you just mentioned, measuring supply and demand.
Yeah.
So it's all over the place. One of the most interesting conversations we had at Transform, Chen, just 2 months ago was from your colleague Jay, who heads up machine learning at Uber. He talked about running all of this off of a single cluster of Hadoop, right? How much, right, again, for this audience, I'm thinking of the folks in this room, how much of an advantage did you have by essentially tapping into Uber's resources, scale, infrastructure? How much is part of Uber and how much is outside? Because he actually mentioned that there was some sort of special side structure for UberEats.
Yeah, so I can talk a little bit about the platform nature of our business. So apparently, one of the biggest competitive advantages for Eats is that we're standing on the shoulder of the giant, right? So we can leverage the underlying Uber platform, right? So when I talk about the platform, I think there's multifaceted or multifold meaning. So one is about the brand awareness of Uber. That's super powerful in terms of customer acquisition, a lot of that. And apparently a second dimension is around the global operational presence, the operational workforce we have worldwide that tremendously expedited the pace for us to expand and innovate and launch in new markets. And then on the technology side, of course, we've also got a lot of platform leverage. I think even on the technical side, there are a few dimensions, right? So one is, in terms of technical infrastructure, we apparently share the same data center clusters, as Jay mentioned, definitely the data warehouse solutions, right? So that can all be leveraged. And I think on top of that, we also benefit a lot from the platform services, if you will, right? So I'll give you some examples there. So one is the core dispatch engine of Uber rides, right? So apparently that can be leveraged by the UberEats delivery system and dispatch system as well. So we indeed build on top of the rides dispatch engine, and we add a lot of customized logic to enable those intelligent dispatch and matching algorithm that I just mentioned to allow us to bundle multiple orders together. But at the core component of the dispatch, we can reuse the rides platform. Another example is indeed this machine learning platform. We actually call it Michelangelo that Jay's team actually worked on. So Michelangelo is a machine learning platform built out by Uber's data platform team, right, which is used by all the different product teams and data scientists, engineers across the entire company to very easily train, test, and also deploy machine learning models into various products. So for instance, when I talk about the recommender systems that we build, when I talk about the time prediction, demand and supply forecasting systems that we built it leveraging the machine learning tech platform, right? We can use the platform to very easily do model exploration, feature engineering, as well as real-time serving of the predictions. And then the fact that we can leverage such a platform absolutely expedited the pace of iteration and innovation at Uber, right?
Yeah. You have about 40 data scientists you mentioned. You talking about the size of the team overall? I'm just curious what the makeup is.
Yeah, so I would say roughly around that number. Apparently, the team is growing really, really fast. Yeah. And we've just built this team in maybe around 2.5 years' time, and we're still like growing at a really rapid rate. But I would say that the fact that we can actually leverage the underlying Uber platform allow us to actually achieve and deliver business outcome and results that is even disproportional to the size of our team.
Right.
And actually that is the benefit of being able to leverage this platform, right? So I think this actually plays to the core strategy of our company. As Dara mentioned, I think it's a big part of our strategy is actually indeed to build this, kind of unified platform for transportation and logistics, which will enable us to very fast explore and also launch a new business, right? And I think Eats has been one of the successful examples of that. And recently, we've also been exploring some new categories like bikes and scooters along those lines.
Yeah. So we presented the results of a survey, Chen, yesterday, or a questionnaire that we had from attendees and some of our readers, and there was a strong correlation between those who had been working on AI for at least a year with seeing greater results than expected, right? In fact, it looked like it takes at least a year to get into that framework of actually seeing significant results. How long did it take for you? Presumably you've been there since the beginning.
Yeah, so I mean, Uber has been really embracing data science algorithms, AI-ish for 4 or 5 years.
But I mean, like UberEats.
Yeah, for UberEats, since the very beginning, we always has data science presence, right? So and in the early days when the data size volume is small, you may not use a super fancy and advanced techniques, but still it's really, really important to make sure even in the early days, you're running the business and product in a data-driven manner. But as you accumulate more and more data, then that's when your algorithm can become more advanced and you can tap into more cutting edge and fancy, if you will, solutions and systems. So I think it definitely has been a journey, right? So, but then I would say since the very beginning, 3 years ago, we've always been leveraging AI, leveraging data science, machine learning, this kind of techniques to help, empower and also optimize the product and the business. Yeah.
Great. So one of the things we talked about in prep was, so what are the tricks? What are some of the learnings? And you said hiring the best, right? When we're talking about the team, again, kind of sounds cliche, right? We all want to hire the best, right? Let's just hire the best, and you'll do well. Can you talk a little bit about what that means for you in this extremely competitive Bay Area, where companies like Facebook and Google are throwing in hundreds of thousands, even millions on data scientists?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, hiring is absolutely one of the biggest challenges. It's very, very hard to hire. I think it's important to really hold that very, very high bar because I think, I believe, if you get the great people, that can solve all the problems for you. So it's really important that you do focus on that. So when I say hiring the best, I think there are also multiple angles, right? So on the technical front, I think, definitely they need to bring in the hard skills, right? So when I talk about doing data science or doing machine learning AI, I think there are a few, kind of a backgrounds that are particularly relevant that we try to really tap into, right? So people coming from for sure the machine learning background, from statistical modeling background, from optimization, operation research background, and for Uber's case, because we're running marketplace, we also leverage people from economics and econometrics background, right? So I think those are a few kind of very relevant background that we bring talent in. But on top of that, we also hire generally from people with very strong quantitative background in engineering and physics or computational biology. So it's a very, very diverse team, but we make sure that they, first of all, can bring these hard skills, right? Quantitative skills, modeling skills, algorithm skills, engineering skills, right? But I would also argue that on top of that, it's really important that we find people that really has the passion and the commitment to Uber and Uber Eats' mission. and vision, right? So they feel really attracted to our mission, for example, to connect and bridge the online world and offline world, right? To use our service to really create convenience for consumers, but also opportunities for the merchants and the courier and driver partners on the platform, right? So I think I pay a lot of attention to whether there is that chemistry, that click, in terms of they're attracted to our vision and mission. They really, really show the enthusiasm and passion for this business, right? So I think that's also another dimension that's not necessarily in terms of technical skills, but I think is at least equally important that we pay attention to, right? So I'm very proud that we have over the years built such a team, right? So that has a mix of very relevant technical skills, but also people that has this right attitude and has this very strong enthusiasm and passion about the business and really want to change the world, really want to work on this awesome product. And then our product is also very unique. I think it's different from like Facebook, Google, which is purely operated in the information layer. So we actually bridge the online, offline, right? So we call it we are kind of integrating in bits and atoms, right? So I think it's a very unique problem space that we actually can really create a lot of value to the world, but also attract a lot of people that are particularly excited and interested in our problem domain.
Yeah, great, Chen. So can you talk a little bit about culture? Yeah. So Uber, obviously, it's well publicized, right? Had this really hard-charging, hard-working culture, led by a CEO who eventually was essentially left the company as a result of some of these cultural traits, or at least that's the outside perception. And you start with these 40 data scientists, and you're hiring PhDs, and how do you merge the human with into this culture of machine-driven practices? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So first of all, generally on culture, I think definitely Uber has lots of things happened in the past year and a half, right? So we went through a difficult time growing pains, I would say. Yeah. We had our learnings and reflections, but I think right now at this moment, we absolutely has got back onto the right and also better track under the leadership of Dara. So actually, we preserved a lot of the good cultural values from the previous era, right? So things around customer sessions, things around truth seeking, I think those are preserved, which is great. But we also added the new cultural elements and highlighted things like always do the right thing, right? So I would say right now the company overall is operating in a way more balanced manner, and we think we're operating in a way more sustainable way right now. So that's great. And I think in terms of specifically for my team right now, how we are building our culture, apparently we inherit a lot of those from the overall company, right? So I don't think there's anything that unique about the specific culture of Eats on my team. But I would say because Eats is at a very early stage, we got a strong startup ethos on the team still, right? So in terms of how do we create that harmony between humans and machines, we're still in the process of learning and figuring that out. It's definitely a challenge, especially for a company like Uber, which has a lot of operational workforce, right? So that's always going to be a challenge. I would say one of the core philosophy that we embraced is to really tailor the task to each party's strengths, right? So what is a machine and algorithm good at? That is tasks that require high precision but low empathy, right? So things like forecasting demand and supply, predicting ETA, and making the most efficient dispatch decision, right? So these are the things that the machines are very good at. We should really leverage and empower machines and algorithms to do such tasks, and we should really teach the humans to rely and trust on machines to do such tasks. And on the other hand, I think humans are extremely good at things that require creativity and also empathy, right? So, and I think we should continue leaning on human decision makers to do those tasks. For example, when it comes down to come up with the business strategy, right? The overall business strategy for the long term, or design principles to ensure trust and fairness of our three-sided marketplace. These are very gnarly issues that we actually still defer to our human decision makers to make. They can take inputs from machines, but to the most extent, humans still make the call, right? So I think it's important that we create this hybrid environment. It's also important that we deliver the message to the employees, to the workforce, that machines and algorithms are not here to necessarily replace you, right? So they are here to liberate you from those routine, tedious, repetitive work so that you actually can use your passion and your genius on something that is more innovative, right? Like innovating and building new business lines or ensuring and strengthening trust. I think those are the things that humans should lean more heavily into in this new age.
Well, one of the things we talked about was in the prep was how some of the audience could relate to you because you have that offline activity too, right? There's this complexity, right? You've got the restaurants, you've got the drivers. There's a big human element there too. So it is messy as you referred to it. With everything going so well, right, in terms of the massive run rate, what are the things that keep you up at night in terms of the challenges of that?
Yeah. I think I already mentioned the biggest challenge is hiring.
Okay.
Continue hiring the best engineers, data scientists is extremely important, but extremely hard. So no kidding, I think that's absolutely my biggest challenge at the moment. I think in terms of other things that is more specific, we talk about creating this harmony between humans and machines during this transformation time. I think that's absolutely one of the challenges. We just had a discussion on that.
So the challenge in the hiring, is it because you can't find the passion, or is it because you can't find the skills?
I think it's just as you mentioned, it's a highly competitive environment here, right?
So it's pay, compensation.
Yeah, so that's definitely one element of that, but it's also just the fact that there's so many new things going on in Silicon Valley. People can be drawn to a lot of different ideas, right? So how do you pitch your company's mission and value proposition to the candidates and to really attract them? And also, Uber is pre-IPO, right? So in terms of pay, we may not be competing with Google or Facebook in terms of the cash, right? So how do you still get the best talent in this environment, right? So I think it has been a challenge for us. So that's definitely one thing that I'm very happy with the progress I've made, but there's always more we can do, right? So there's always more talents that we can still bring in to innovate even faster, right? So, but then aside from that, I talk about like making humans and algorithms work really smoothly together. That's one of the challenge. And then also, I think there are a few other things. For example, I would say this is a very hyper-competitive and also fast-changing business environment, right? So particularly for companies like Uber, the space that we operate in is really, really competitive. So how do you find the constants in this environment? Maybe like if I can use a more geeky way to express this, like think about your business as a overall like optimization problem. What should be our objective function? What should be the hard constraints? And what should be the decision variables, right? So be able to describe your business in that way and also have the buy-in from different functionality from your company to operate in this manner, right? To solve this problem that they all recognize and agree with. I think that itself is a very big challenge. Okay. Making trade-offs is very challenging. There are a lot of trade-offs that we need to make on a daily basis, right? For example, for a marketplace business like Uber or UberEats, trade-offs among reliability, efficiency, and growth, that's something that is super hard. How do you make that trade-off? Trade-offs across the different sides of marketplace, right? We talk about eaters, we talk about restaurants, we talk about driver and career partners, right? They care about different things. And we also care about the business outcome as a company, right? So how do we make trade-offs across these different parties? How do we make the trade-offs between short-term benefits and long-term gains, right? So I think these are also a few typical type of trade-offs. I think that's also a source of a challenge in our work,
So I wanted to go to the audience with questions here. We got a microphone here. If you could wait till the microphone gets to you. Thanks.
Chen, thanks. I have a quick two-part question. So it's come out recently that you have this new business.
Sorry, could you introduce yourself again?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Mike Grandinetti. I'm a lecturer at MIT and startup CMO.
Hey, Mike.
Hey. It came out that you're working on UberWorks as a bit of a skunkworks down in LA, right? And UberWorks is a business that is TaskRabbit for hourly employees, so it's a B2B business, matching security guards and caterers and event workers and stuff like that with companies, which has always been a hyper-local business. So can you comment at all about how Matt had referred that you built on the shoulders of Uber Core to build on your remarkably fast-growing business. Are the folks at UberWorks standing on your shoulders, and what can you say about AI and data science and the contributions you can make with your background in that business?
Any comment there?
Yeah, thank you for the question. Unfortunately, that's a separate effort outside of the UberEats business unit, so I really cannot comment on that. I would just say that the Uber as a platform, right? That's the idea, right? We want to leverage the platform to experiment and test these different ideas. So that's one example, recent example of.
All right, I guess I'm going to go back to your core.
I'm sorry, we have time for one more question. There's a gentleman behind you. I'm sorry, Mike.
Hi, my name is Sriram Gopalakrishnan. I'm a data scientist at Trulia. We've heard about the hiring challenges yesterday as well, and it's all been mostly around the technical talent. And I want to touch upon another aspect of talent. We have a lot of people who are thinking about how to implement AI and machine learning in organizations. How important is it to kind of have that AI machine learning thinking permeate through sort of other aspects of your organization, like your product managers and your UX designers?
Absolutely important. I think it's important that everyone has the basic knowledge, right, and understanding, and can speak some of the basic language so that they can interact with these tech employees, especially for PMs, for some of the business managers, right, designers. I think at least at Uber, we try to provide this kind of educational sessions so that even if you're not a data scientist or machine learning engineer, you still got the basics. And so you can work together with these machine learning engineers or data scientists. I think that's actually a great thing to call out. I would encourage all companies here to invest in educating your entire workforce, not just the technical employee, to have the basic knowledge about ML and AI. Yeah.
Okay. We have about 15 seconds left. Actually, we're minus 20 seconds. So thank you very much, Chen. We're out of time, right?
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Great. Good job. Thanks.